Engine Strip, Craftsman EZ-3 Lawnmower, Part 1. William Hovey Smith, 2024.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And today we are continuing the teardown of our EZ-3 Craftsman Lawnmower here. And we're going to be taking apart this Briggs & Stratton engine. When I got the lawnmower from Atlanta, it was given to me because it would not run. And it had been in the weeds for some years. And one of the reasons it had been discarded was that the engine would not turn over. Well, yeah, the engine has some problems. Among them are that this engine was designed to run on white gas, which is something that's no longer available. It also leaks oil, which I found out after I got it home. I did put some oil in it, and it almost instantly started running out, although it still has some in it somewhere. So we're going to disassemble this engine. And in particular, what this is a 15.5 horsepower overhead valve Craftsman, made by Briggs & Stratton. It has a lot in common with other similar Briggs & Stratton engines before and since. I am hoping that there is one component I will be able to salvage to use on the lawnmower I'm rebuilding, and that is the starter. However, we don't know that until we get into it. Plus, it may be that the starter is damaged. Just don't know yet. When Briggs made these engines back in the day, they did an excellent job of actually assembling and preserving the engine. Despite its age, the engine itself looks good. Yeah, this looks just about like it would if you bought it off the shelf brand new today. However, it has problems as noted before. And it has its serial number on it, its serial plate. It's called an IC Platinum, 15.5 horsepower, turbo cool it says. All right. It has a interesting style air filter here. Well, trapezoidal. Well, I see it's still retained. Come. All right. Yeah, it has been used. Okay. I removed the 4 screws retaining this top grill plate. Well, that actually moves. All right. Interesting. The next thing to remove is this plastic cover here, and it uses a smaller socket, wouldn't you know? And all right. Let's see. And that has a little tab on it. All right, it's not quite free yet. I can see the teeth on the wheel. Okay, that's good. We've got to remove the oil fill spout, apparently. And it has one little screw over here,
All right, and might as well drain it while I'm on this side. Not much retained in the system at all. Okay, I think that should free now. Yeah. Okay. It's gone. All these teeth look good. Starter motor looks like it might be salvageable. Okay. All right, and get these out. And we've removed the screws and are ready to lift off the cover. Now these screws are really unique. These are the ones on the front, and they have shoulders here as well as an integral spacer, which is something peculiarly made for these engines apparently. Now shoulder screws are not that uncommon, but these with built-in spacers certainly are. Not something one would pick up at your usual hardware store, even a machine hardware store. Let's see. Comes off easily. These cooling vanes are plastic. And underneath the teeth here, can't really see them all yet. What I can see looks good. By taking this bar and jamming it between the vanes here and having it rest against the side of the engine block, I was able to remove two screws here which retain this plastic vane, and now it lifts free and leaves the flywheel. And this is now free, so we have our plastic components and our metal components separated, although you can see the amount of rust that's accumulated on the outside. Support this channel by buying my outdoor books, business books, novels, and recommending them to your local libraries. Well, we're in the middle of fishing season right now, and if you have never tried it, I suggest bow fishing, like in my book, Practical Bow Fishing. And coming up a little later, we have backyard deer hunting, also crossbow hunting, also extreme muzzleloading, if you'd like to try something new in the hunting world. And you may also instruct and entertain yourself with my business books and novels. Despite flattening this and trying to unscrew this with vice grips, refuses to come, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off with the angle grinder. still doesn't want to move. The reason why this did not unscrew is because it was not supposed to. It's actually molded into the plastic itself. So that is why that did not work, although it would seem obvious. So we cut the top part off. And we're now looking at the carburetor itself. Now the carburetor, this carburetor is built with some integral plastic parts, including this base right here, as well as this knob, which feeds into the carburetor directly, and this is the fuel line for the carburetor. We've used our extension arm to pull this nut from, and we have also removed a retaining bracket that was here. It connected there, and so this can finally slide off. And we see what we have here. Okay, we're finally looking at the carburetor. Well, there's a lot of junk in it, actually, even just with the fingers. Looks like we have a nut here and a nut here, and then maybe we can start moving something. Now, loosening this nut enables us to get this out of there. All the way. Wow. Now that's an interesting one-piece bit of machining, fabrication. Its mate. Okay, well, carburetor is mostly free. It's out of its connecting rods here. That is a very thin wire. That is undone. There. With an electrical connection. And hooks here. So now, one carburetor. On this mechanism here, which is actually contain the fuel pump among other things, as well as the guide rods for the control cables, are a couple of metal screws that go into the engine block. I'm working on one right now, and some of them are hidden. One was underneath here, for example. Interesting mechanism. Piece of bent forging there, just straight stock bent, drilled. Then this is an axle right here, and it was retained by a nut and bolt. So, yeah, you've got ratchet teeth here that are biting. Yeah. Wow. Interesting bit of mechanical design. Before we move around, a closer look at the carburetor. And this was its orientation towards the user, towards the operator. And it has two flutter valves here. This being the front with the perforations. And you go in the back and you have the rear flutter valve here. And so that would be carburetor full open. And yes, it did have a gasket, and here it is. It's one piece of good plastic. Yeah, that's a good gasket. That gasket is sound. The one on the other side is obviously, you just see the very remnants of it hanging on. Moving around more toward the front of the engine, you're not imagining things. This aluminum casting here that actually feeds fuel into the engine, that's at an angle. It's not right angle to the block. It has a definite slant to it of about 30 degrees. We're going to remove these machine screws here, and then we'll drop this part. Okay. And this is free. When we detach this ground wire, it also loosens this protective flashing plate. Which is still attached to the underside somehow. Okay, we'll see what's behind here. Of our gasket, it actually looks fair, better than many I've seen. There are valves. Okay. Okay. Still under considerable spring tension. Push rods. Beautiful thing. Why the difference? Don't know. We remove this screw. This plate was back here. And so now this is what we see behind it. These two screws are gone. These springs are under tension and are being retained by something, although I cannot see exactly what. To be continued. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.